All right, let's get right into it. I want you to imagine you're moving through an area that looks perfectly normal. The sun's out, the air seems clear, but every single breath you take could be laced with a nerve agent. And every step you take might be adding to a lethal, totally invisible dose of radiation. Your survival in that moment depends entirely on the electronic eyes and ears we are about to break down.
And that's really the heart of the matter. You just can't smell the most modern toxins, and you certainly can't feel gamma rays passing right through you. On a CBRN battlefield, your 5 senses are completely, utterly useless. This is exactly why this technology isn't just some nice-to-have advantage. It is absolutely essential for survival.
So, here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to start with the nature of this invisible threat. Then we'll walk through the specific instruments for both radiation and chemical detection. After that, we'll cover the critical first aid and medical kits, see how it all works together as a sensor ecosystem, and then we'll wrap it up with a mission recap. Right, let's jump into our first section, the invisible threat. This is all about making sure we understand the stakes and exactly what you need to know to operate safely in this kind of environment.
By the time we're done here, you're going to be able to identify the key radiation detection tools and know the difference between dose and dose rate. You'll be able to explain how chemical monitors, like the Chemical Agent Monitor, or CAM, and the Automatic Alarm, ACADA, actually work. You'll also know the difference between first aid kits type A and B, and finally, you'll understand how to apply medical countermeasures, like NAPS tablets and autojet injectors. Okay, let's move on to our next section and see how all this builds. We're now looking at radiation detection instruments. The best way to think of these is as your electronic eyes for a danger you absolutely cannot see.
Now, before we go any farther, we have to nail down this core concept, dose versus rate. It's actually pretty simple when you think about it like this. Dose rate is like the speed of your car. It tells you how fast you're getting hit with radiation. Dose, on the other hand, is like the total distance you've traveled. It's the total amount of radiation that has accumulated inside you.
So how do we track this on a personal level? Well, first up is the RPL dosimeter. It's like a watch. You wear it on your wrist, and it detects gamma rays and neutrons, recording your cumulative dose over time. The key thing here is that you can't read it yourself. It needs a special reader. Then you have the more advanced pocket dosimeter, or PDM. This is a handheld device that shows you both the dose and the dose rate, and it even has an audio warning to alert you when you hit certain limits.
Now, for checking out larger areas, we use the Portable Dose Rate Meter, or PDRM. This is the tool you use to go find hot spots of contamination. And for crews inside armored vehicles, there's a röntgenometer to monitor their environment, along with gamma flash sensors. And check this out. This really shows you the kind of speed we're talking about. The flash sensor can detect a nuclear explosion and trigger the vehicle's protection systems in less than 100 milliseconds. Just incredible.
Okay, so we've covered radiation. Now let's pivot to our next category, chemical detection instruments. Here, we're talking about identifying those invisible vapors and gases that can be just as deadly. We actually have a few different layers of detection for chemical agents. The first is a manual kit, the residual vapor detection kit. It uses these little detector tubes that change color when a specific agent is present. Next up is the CAM, or Chemical Agent Monitor. This is a handheld device for point detection. You literally point it at gear or a person you think is contaminated, and it gives you a hazard level in just 10 seconds. And finally, you've got the ACADA. This is your automatic alarm, constantly monitoring the air in real time and sounding an alarm if it picks up nerve or mustard agents.
And for a much deeper, really high-precision analysis, especially when you're checking food or water, there's the portable gas chromatograph. Just think of it as a mobile lab that can identify specific chemicals based on a unique signature they have called retention time.
So, you've detected the threat. What happens next? Let's move on to the tools for treatment and survival, first aid and medical kits. We've basically got two main tiers here. The Type A kit is designed for a small group, maybe 4 to 6 people. It's lightweight, only about 2 kilograms, and can be used by semi-skilled personnel. The Type B kit, though, that's the heavy-duty version. It weighs 55 kilograms, is used at regimental aid posts for 30 to 40 casualties, and is definitely meant for medical professionals.
Okay, this right here is absolutely critical. We have 2 main nerve agent countermeasures, and knowing the difference could literally save your life. First, you have NAPS tablets. These are for pre-treatment. You take one every 8 hours before an attack is expected to build up resistance. The autojet injector is for treatment. You only use this after symptoms of nerve agent poisoning start to appear, injecting yourself every 15 minutes.
For immediate casualty care, there's the resuscitator. It's a manual bladder system used to force clean, filtered air into the lungs of someone who has stopped breathing.
And for evacuation, we use casualty bags made of a special activated charcoal fabric. The full bag is for stretcher cases, and the half bag is designed to protect the upper body of the walking wounded.
Now let's bring it all together in this section, the sensor ecosystem. This is where we get to see how these individual tools don't just work in isolation, they form a complete, integrated, layered defense.
So let's do a quick review of the radiation sensors with this comparison table. You've got the RPL dosimeter, that wristwatch type that measures your cumulative dose and needs a separate reader. Then there's the handheld pocket dosimeter, which measures both dose and rate and gives you audio alarms. And finally, the Röntgenometer is vehicle-mounted, measures the dose rate, and keeps an eye on the cruise environment.
And here's the table for the chemical detectors. The CAM uses something called ion mobility spectrometry for checking people and gear, and it's fast, a 10-second response. The AKIDA uses that same principle, but for continuous air monitoring, giving you a real-time alarm. The Vapor Kit is different. It's using a chemical reaction for manual spot tests.
So, how does this actually play out in the real world? Let's look at this odorless killer scenario. You've got a unit that's resting. They don't smell anything, they don't see anything. But suddenly, the ACKADA in their shelter sounds its alarm. What happened? It detected a nerve agent cloud drifting from 5 kilometers away, giving them the critical seconds they need to get their masks on before that cloud hits. That is the life-saving difference it makes.
And this diagram really pulls that sensor ecosystem concept together. It shows how your protection is multi-layered. You've got the RPL dosimeter on your wrist, tracking your body's total history. You've got the CAM in your hand for checking your gear right now, and you've got the AC8 in your eye providing a constant alert for the air around you. Okay, time to wrap this up with our mission recap. We're going to focus on the key takeaways you absolutely need to remember.
So here are the crucial points, nice and quick. For radiation, we track dose with the RPL watch and the rate with the PDM. For chemicals, ACOT is your automatic alarm, CAM is your handheld checker. For medical kits, Type A is for the small section, Type B is for the big aid post. For countermeasures, NAPS is the pre-treatment pill. Autojet injectors are the post-exposure treatment. And finally, use casualty bags for safe evacuation. Got it?
And we'll end on this one last reflective question, just to lock in the learning. If you are issued both NAPS tablets and Autojet injectors, which one do you use before the chemical alarm sounds? And which one do you use only after you feel symptoms? Think it through. Getting that right, that's what keeps you in the fight.